first off, I want to say this is much more fun for me than talking about myself. um, I have so many honorable mentions. I'm going to start with the obvious ones, the ones that come up on critics' lists all the time. So Velvet Underground and Nico, Rolling Stones' Exile on Main Street, Beach Boys' Pet Sounds, Beatles' White Album or Double Album, or the Beatles' Van Morrison Astral Weeks. These are all, there's a reason they're on critics' list all the time. They're pretty much flawless front to back. I mean, Velvet Underground's a little unlistable, but it's also like smashing through reality, time, space, and I describe it as 50s music from outer space.
And very influential, right? It changed
And
everything.
very influential, yeah. The next tier is albums that I love that are, Sonic Youth Washing Machine, Television Marquee Moon, Cheap Trick Heaven Tonight, Big Star, pick one, number one record, Radio City, even the third one is great. The Strokes, Is This It?
That's another newer one on your list, yeah.
Flawless record, front to back. REM Out of Time, REM Automatic for the People, REM Reckoning.
REM fan, okay.
Yeah, REM, they're as influential as the Velvet Underground. You know, if you take away, REM, then thousands of bands disappear like the photos in Back to the Future.
REM basically gave permission for bands to sign to a major label without feeling like they're selling out. Like, I don't think you have Nirvana going from the indie label to Nevermind major label if you don't have the influence of REM in there.
Yeah. Stereolab, Dots and Loops. Stereolab was one of my favorite albums in the 90s. It consistently put out great albums. These two albums, I always think of them as a pair. Flaming Lips, Soft Bulletin, and Spiritualized, Ladies and Gentlemen, We Are Floating in Space. These are 90s records that everyone loved. Metal guys would rave about Spiritualized. They were just, everything came together for these bands, and they're just amazing sounding records with amazing songs. Wire, Chairs Missing. And then the next category would be albums that I really wanted to be on the top 5, and it was really hard to cross them off. The Kinks, We Are the Village Green Preservation Society, again, flawless front to back. Sounds, 1967, it sounds like it was recorded between, 1980 and 1995. The Velvet Underground, the third album. The Velvet Underground were awesome at shooting themselves in the foot. So the first album was bizarre. The second album was, people call them unlistenable. The engineer famously said, if this is what you guys are going to do, this button presses record, I'm out of here. I'm not going to listen to this. Pavement, Wowie Zowie. Pavement, I'm going to talk more about them in the Steely Dan section, but again, a flawless record, beautifully sequenced, sprawling, expansive. Joni Mitchell, Hey Gira, just like sacred music, really. Neil Young, Tonight's the Night, kind of like the Neil Young aficionados' favorite album. It's just, they didn't want to, the record company made him shelve it for 3 years because it was too raw and uncompromising. It's just an amazing listen all the way through. And Let It Be by the Replacements, just like a masterpiece of, I don't know. So those are my honorable mentions.
Wow, you might have put more time into that list than anybody in this series so far. I know you were squirming just trying to come up with your top five, so I know you actually put some thought into it and took some time. I'll have to go back and check out this part of the episode to write out that list and check out those albums.
Well, I thought a lot about the criteria for this list, and my criteria are, it's got to be something that floored me when I listened to it first and still floors me now. And that's kind of the big criteria. And then the other criteria was like, it had to be super solid from front to back, no duds. It had to be very influential in how I think musically. And yeah.
Okay. When I was in Toronto for 11 years, and they would have free concerts at the Eaton Center, I guess Dundas Square. They'd have free concerts every now and then. And there was a free Flaming Lips concert that I went to, which is insane. So I got to see the Flaming Lips where the singer goes out in that ball and floats over the crowd like he's an alien. Pretty amazing. Their song "Do You Realize," that has to be like one of the greatest songs of all time.
Yeah.
It's such an incredible song, man. The lyrics, they'll get you.
Yeah. There's a similar, that's the album after the one I mentioned. There's a similar song called "Feeling Yourself Disintegrate," and it's similarly about love and death. And it's incredibly concise.
So the album you chose, it was Soft Bulletin?
Yeah.
So the album, what do you realize? It's something like Yoshimi Battles the Robots or something?
That's correct. Yeah.
They're such a unique band, eh? There's just nobody like them.